I'm thrilled to be here again, just a little over a year since the last time I was in this space talking about my work. The last show happened to also be a group of swimmer paintings. And I shared a bit at that time about my trajectory getting into this subject matter. It was sort of a surprising trajectory for me, at least, because less than 10 years ago, I was a landscape painter, very adamant landscape painter. And when someone suggested that I start painting figures into my paintings, like, appalled at the idea. And as you can see, there are now people everywhere. So never say never. At that time, I also shared about my lifelong love of swimming, being in the water. And as a painter, there was always this moment when I was an open water swimmer, and still now, this moment when I'm out in the water and my stroke is recovering here, and I turn my head to breathe, and my eye is right there at the same level as the water, and the sunlight is coming across, glinting across the surface, and there it is, there's the landscape framed by my body, by my very own body. It's a very intense, very brief moment before you go back into those depths. Something that I've always wanted to try and capture. And I used to think that I was attracted to this moment as a landscape painter because of that glimpse of landscape. But I'm coming to understand now that my interest in this moment is actually rooted in my body. It's rooted inside, not outside. It's rooted in the feeling of being alive, of being in my body at that very moment. In the landscape, not just looking at it, but in it, submerged in it, me, my body, part of the landscape. I recently took an entire year off of painting from about November of 2015 until just about the first of this year. In the time away from the studio, I was training in massage therapy. I was studying the human body, kinesiology. I became a much better painter during that time because I learned about my body, how to become more aware of it, more engaged in it. And this changed my painting considerably because now I feel like I paint from more of a whole body awareness of a place instead of just painting from my eye. Seeing is touch at a distance, said Ida Rolf. Well, shoot. If seeing is touch at a distance, if seeing falls under this umbrella of touch, this larger umbrella, and if we touch things with our eyes like we touch things with our hands to figure them out, to know them, then what if I cut to the chase? And as a painter, what if I work directly with touch, with this larger umbrella of sense that seeing is part of? For example, here's my water bottle. I can stand here and I can look at it. I can look at it for a really long time, or I can pick it up. I can touch it, feel the texture, move it around and examine the different surfaces and parts. I can feel the weight of it in my arms, up into my shoulders and my neck even. I could walk over to the windowsill with it, place it on the windowsill. The appearance of it would change. The looking at it would change when I move with it. I could give it to you. And the significance of it changes. I could ask for it back. I could open it up, check out the inside, take a sip. In a sense, the water bottle moves me, because I'd look pretty ridiculous if I was just up here going through all of those motions without the water bottle in my hand. The water bottle moves me. In touching that water bottle, moving it, and being moved by it, I can know it better than if I were just to stand at a distance and look. Because when I look at it, I only see part of it. And I only see part of it with part of me, just a part. However, when I participate, when I touch and move, an integrity is introduced. The parts of it and the parts of me become more engaged. And these parts also begin to come together and share a story. So as a painter, I have to ask, what if the landscape is like this water bottle? People often ask how it is that I paint water the way that I do, which is a question that makes me feel very uncomfortable because I don't have a really good answer. I don't have an answer with words that would make me sound very professional. I don't really know how it happens. All I can say is that I have spent so much time in and around water, touching it, feeling it, moving it, being moved by it, that when I go to paint it, it just comes out. There's a reservoir of all of my full body immersed in it experiences that comes out fast and like a flood. All of these paintings in this room, plus about 20 more swimmers, an assortment of fly fishermen, skiers, snowboarders, rock climbers. I've done all of these paintings since February of this year, so it happens fast. We can look at a subject all we want, but at some point it makes sense. And not just sense here, but sense here. Sensory sense to broaden our perspective. Science used to tell us that the most sensory dense organ in the human body was the retina. But new studies are showing us that our fascia, the web of connective tissue that surrounds every part of our body, from cells to muscles to bones to joints. Fascia, the fibrous structure that gives us form and transmits tension so that we can move in this world. The fascia is much richer than the retina in sensory organs, those tiny little nerve endings that give us feedback about the world outside of us, where we are in it, how we relate to it, how we can move through it. These new studies are showing that our sense of proprioception, our somatic sense, our kinesthetic sense, will need to be recognized alongside hearing and seeing and touch and taste and smell. Body experience, the embodied experience of the space around us and how we move. Movement is a powerful form of perception. It is our sixth sense. And this is where I paint from. This, again, my body. This is my tool, not just this. This is my tool to be in the water and to know it. And then this, all of it, is my tool to then communicate from that knowing the water. And so really, it's this, the whole thing, that is the subject that I paint. Because even in the paintings where there is no figure, there's still an implied I. And it's my eye. It's my body's eye. With all of its amazing tiny muscles and physiology and mechanics, The eye doesn't just see. The eye moves. It moves. We're all moving our eyes right now. I mean, do you know about the wonder that is your eye? So let's just do a little anatomy. It'll help me make a little transition here. So you have the anterior compartment of your eyeball. Includes your cornea, your lens, and those tiny little muscles that change the shape of your lens so that you can focus at different distances. And then you have the posterior compartment of your eye, the backside of which is that wall, that optic disc, upon which the outside world is projected. And that optic disc is connected to your optic nerve, which transmits all that information to your brain. So in between this backside of your posterior compartment, that optic disc, and the anterior compartment, posterior compartment, the anterior compartment, you have what is essentially 5/6 of the space of your eye, the volume of your eye, and it's filled with this gel-like substance. And what is this gel made out of? It's 99% water. So that means that the eye is mostly water. So that which allows me to see water is water. It's an interesting thought. When we are just a fertilized ovum, brand new, we are 99% water. That's how we start. In the womb, we grow and we develop according to fluid dynamics. There's a squirt of rich, watery substance in a certain direction, and it develops into an arm, a leg, a toe. One of my favorite quotations is this: a human being is a container invented by water so it can walk around. A newborn baby is 89% water. And as our structure continues to develop and harden, I mean, we're not even born with kneecaps. We've got to grow those at some point early on. So we harden, we grow. And then we find ourselves here in this room. Most of us, maybe not a few that are out there outside the door there, but most of us in this room are somewhere between 65 and 70% water. And so aging is a process of dehydration. And you know what that means. The fountain of youth is just that. It's not an idea, it's not a place, it's not a myth, it's fountain. And it's not even the fountain, it's the stuff that gushes forth from the fountain. It's water. It is in me, and it is me. And it is powerful when it comes out. And so besides the idea of seeing as touch at a distance, of painting from a kinesthetic sense, and from the wonder of having this body as a tool to be in this world, I want to impress upon you one more idea, and it's a phrase that I read in Joseph Campbell's book, The Power of Myth. Participate in landscape. I've been rolling this one around in my head a lot over the past year. I use my water bottle as a metaphor, picking it up and touching it to show that there are rich sources of sensory information and perception to be had in touch and movement. I took a sip from this water bottle because it's not just me who moves it, but it is it that moves me. I can take part in my subject, be moved by it. So maybe by painting water, I'm learning to let go of a certain insistence that I have of pursuing my subject, my work, manipulating something that's on the outside of me. Maybe instead I'm learning to let water do its work on me. Because here's the thing. I actually have a fear of water. Specifically of being underwater. All this talk about being immersed in it, moving in it, being moved by it, it's too good to be true. It's not that easy. I mean, come on, way too polished, way too tidy, way too easy. Being underwater is hard for me. Yes, I grew up around water, and yes, I have spent absurdly long hours and distances swimming miles and miles to God knows where in open water. But I am still terrified of it. I am terrified of being caught, unprepared, unexpected, unanticipated underwater. Give me a nose plug or a mask. Give me a proper stroke to learn, to practice, to master, so that I have this illusion of being in control of the water, and I'm good to go. You know, when you're swimming freestyle, the water's moving in the right direction, right? It's moving past your nose this way. And I don't know if you noticed, but I have a decently sized nose with very large nostrils. So if the water were to move this way, I would surely drown. I'm positive of it. And this is why I can dive into the water, but I can't jump into it, not without plugging my nose. Sports like water skiing, tubing, surfing, terrified. Water parks, probably my worst nightmare. Even doing the work of getting the photos to do the underwater paintings in here, do you know how hard it is to try and operate a digital camera and look through and plug your nose at the same time? It is not easy. Even with a mask that has that nose piece, there's still this panic that sets into me when my head starts leaving the surface and sinking lower. Thank God I have Jonathan. He water skis and surfs for the both of us. And I do enough worrying about it for the both of us. When we go on swim adventures, he's our eyes of Ives. And he can calmly wield a camera at depths that I can only go on my best days, and definitely with my nose plugged. He's slowly working on me, getting me to dive a little deeper, hold my breath a little longer, and experience just a little more of a watery world. And so it's been an interesting experience for me, these works. Exploring the place which is both most magical and most terrifying. And I'm not exactly sure what it means. Our work is our work, right? It is uniquely our work. Because it is, in fact, working on us. It is working on me. And so I think that this is what it might mean to participate in the landscape, to let all the parts of it and all the parts of me get together and do work. Joseph Campbell says, our environment shapes our stories, and that it's time to develop a vocabulary not of words, but of acts and adventures. And so I don't think I need to know what my pursuit of these underwater paintings means. Not in words. The intellect, like the image, can be a little bit of a bully. So really trying to drop into my full body, to let my environment shape me, my story. Squirt of fluid here or there, maybe a new limb of understanding develops. A sip of water here or there, which may or may not go down the wrong pipe when I'm talking in front of a group of people. That was a moment of fear, by the way. But if it does, it's probably not going to kill me. It's just going to embarrass me a little bit, and that's probably good for me, which is probably reason why someone should push me into the water at some point when I'm not expecting it. It would be good for me. Would teach me not to take things so seriously. Acts and adventures. Our bodies, the tools. To participate in landscape, to have our stories shaped, to let our work on us. And I'll close with one of my other favorite quotations. It's from Alan Watts. To have faith is to trust yourself to the water. When you swim, you don't grab hold of the water, because if you do, you will sink and drown. Instead, you relax and you float. Thank you all for being here very much. Thank you. And I'd love to give an opportunity to anyone who wants to ask a question now. I'll also be available the rest of the evening, so you can approach me later. But does anybody have any questions? Mm-hmm.
Water. You mentioned photography.
Yeah.
So I gather that is.
Yes.
I'd love to hear you talk about. Do you do sketches? Do you
No.
do studies?
I don't do any sketches. I don't do any studies. I spend a lot of time wherever these paintings have been done. I've spent time in these places, and like I said, I've tried to just really be there, full body presence, be there. And I usually know when I get home and I go through sometimes hundreds of photos.
Yeah.
I know exactly which ones are going to be paintings.
Yeah.
And I don't do any preparatory sketching. I really don't do any blocking out on the panel. Just go for it.
Have you
So.
looked at other people who do water? Is that like David Hockney and all these people?
Yeah, yes,
They
yes.
use it like you do, as you do.
Yeah, yeah,
Exciting.
yeah,
Well, thank you.
yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you so much for a wonderful talk.
Thank you.
I can't tell you, I feel so drawn to this.
Yeah.
But now I know why. Because I can feel what you felt, I guess, at times in my life. And you really can depict it beautifully. Thank you.
Thank you. That's actually not me. No. For the longest time, my paintings were either of me or Jonathan, but I've since become a little bit more bold about taking photos of strangers, usually without asking their permission. So who knows, you might wind up in a painting someday if you go swimming. Oh, yes. And it was awful. I mean, it was wonderful, but it was terrifying the whole time. Because I'll tell you a little bit about what goes through my head. So I've got this thing right in my mouth that I'm able to breathe when I was only 40 feet underwater. And there's this moment of thought where it's like, if I just pop this thing out of my mouth right now, that's how close I am. That's how close I am. I know, but it's just too much. I just don't even like to go. I'm sorry, I don't even really like to go back to that memory, except for I can see the humor in it. It's like, it's ridiculous, really. As a lot of fears are, but yeah. Underwater. Yeah.
That's why all your figures have their head above water.
They have until this show. Yeah, well, yeah, I guess that's true, actually. This is me. I am successfully underwater, but see, the water is definitely moving in the right direction. Yeah.
So these are photos of other people. You didn't decide the poses.
No.
You photographed where you were.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yep. Yeah.
You're just stalking people underwater.
It's sort of awful, isn't it? It really is. But we I know. But there is something to catching people naturally moving through the water. You know, there's the shot for that one is interesting. I'm supposed to let you know, Annie, this is the image of this painting is actually taken right alongside the rock that the man is standing on in your painting. So that's at Damerscotta Mills, and there's a nice rock to stand on above this swath of water. And there were enough people in the water that you could sort of move around and look like you were just taking general pictures of the area instead of like really being like, that's beautiful. Wait, keep. So there's a little bit of direction sometimes when it's just Jonathan and I, and we can say, oh, dive like that again, could you? I didn't quite capture that. Or
Once you take the photo,
yeah,
and you've gone through your hundreds of photos,
yeah.
and decided which ones appeal to you,
Mm-hmm.
and you said then you just go for it.
There's
Do you refer back to it, or you're just...
No, I definitely do refer back to it. Yeah, I definitely have it pulled up on my laptop as I'm working, you know. But I do like to tell people, yes, I am working from the photo, but I'm working from being in that place.
So there's
Yeah.
a lot of editing activity.
Maybe?
Yeah.
Not, maybe. Yeah,
Because they don't have the stilted photographic
good.
feel to them.
I'm glad. I do want to make something that points to life. So,
Something occurred to me recently, which is
Yeah.
that painting from life,
yeah.
no awareness of depth of field. Painting from a
yes.
photograph, you're seeing depth of field.
Mhm.
Are you throwing that information out? I'm not seeing depth of field. I'm not seeing a limited depth of field in these pictures. But I've seen paintings from photographs where they were painting exactly
The flat.
the shallow depth of field and
Yeah.
things were out of focus. Which,
Oh,
if
right.
you were,
Yeah.
If you were painting in the field from life,
Mhm.
everything would be in focus.
Because as you're looking specifically,
But a camera doesn't adjust.
right.
So, is that ever an issue for you?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Is it an issue?
Well, I don't see it an issue here. But
Yeah.
I mean, you should.
There are definitely certain things that.
Pretty limited depth of field.
Yeah.
Underwater.
Yeah.
But I'm not seeing it here. But
Yeah.
it's
I don't know. I'll have to notice. I'll have to notice the next time. You know.
I don't even think of the bodies. To me, it's the water.
Mm.
It's cold. Like you're being pulled, and
Yep.
I'm being pulled into that water, and that's what
Yeah.
I feel.
Good.
Each one I look at.
Good.
You're just, don't you feel like you're in it?
Because I do think something that I do wonder about is that separation that we've created between us and nature, and that's an unnatural separation. Actually, we like to think of ourselves as, again, outside of nature or outside of the landscape. But when you're in it, and you are part of it. So I do hope that the paintings communicate that, the integration. I think it's important. I think that's actually it's an important thing.
I think it's interesting that none of the fear comes through,
Yeah. Yeah. Huh.
especially that one over there.
Yeah.
That's you.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, maybe when you either by accident or intentionally face the fear, maybe it's not as bad as you thought it was. Or it gets less and less, and so more of the joy of life can just come through.
Well, I have one other thing to say.
Okay.
I think that the way you paint water is so extraordinarily beautiful. I mean, I've been sitting here thinking, could she do it without the figures? What are the figures actually doing for the water and vice versa?
Huh.
And I don't know. mean, this one
Yeah.
over here, which I think is, the figure is so handsome, and so strong, but I also think it's almost like an abstract painting. If it didn't have that safety net of the figure.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sometimes the figures create the action.
Exactly. No, I
Yeah.
realize that there's an importance to them, but the way that it's painted, the way the water is painted, just by itself, is so beautiful.
Thanks.
But it needs, it definitely needs impetus.
It's really funny, in a few short years, I've shifted from being appalled at painting figures to being appalled at not painting figures in my paintings. I do have a really hard time now painting just landscapes.
Yeah.
So.
I think the figures make you feel the water.
Well, it's true.
Because you felt the water.
Tactile.
Yes. Yes.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, I will say one thing, I think it's really challenging for a contemporary artist to paint a figure in the landscape and have a contemporary figure integrated in, like the woman over there in the water.
That's so beautiful.
I know, it's like, and this one here too, and this one, they're just, you don't feel like the figure is really separated from nature. Sometimes you'll see a painting and there's a modern figure in modern clothes and they stick out like a sore thumb in the landscape.
I think it is because we have not practiced seeing ourselves in the landscape. We have lots of landscape art. We don't have as many images to look at that show us ourselves, our modern contemporary selves engaging. Again, something I feel really strongly about, being able to show us ourselves.
But a lot of our style isn't natural looking.
No, it's definitely not.
I don't know, the water, right now, you could paint pictures of people in air, but
That's
it's hard
interesting.
to show the air.
Yeah,
You can see us in the water and
Yeah.
the effects and the interaction between
the movement.
Yeah,
Yes.
that I often take my dog for a walk because his attention is on smelling.
Yeah.
And I often
Yeah.
picture
Right.
what
Huh.
is he seeing? What
Right.
what do those smells could be
Right.
colors or it would
And
be
maybe
the
they
same
are.
as seeing the water or seeing
Yeah.
the air as water.
Yes. That's really interesting. That's
But
great.
you show them the way
Yeah.
that you can show our connectedness.
Yeah.
Whereas people just take it for granted
Yeah.
when we're in the air.
Yeah. Yeah, actually.
Underwater are like windows.
Huh.
And the figures are very clear. The windows, the figures that are suspended in water,
Mm.
you have clear parts, and the amazing part is that you've made, because the water distorts the
Mm.
figure that's under the water, and yet they don't look like noodles.
Yeah.
Your eye puts it together
Good.
that it's a body.
Good.
You know?
Yeah.
But the underwater ones are like so clear.
Yeah. They are different.
If there's any more questions,
I'm here. So
thank you, Jessica.
thank you. Thank you all for coming. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Well, maybe I should take this off now.